So this is going to be a little new of a filming spot. Like, it's still the same room, it's just tilted this way. Because I love having this thing open, but then like when I film normally like that way, it faces the whole curtain. And then it's always so bright, and I feel like this even is still bright, so let me know if this is too bright. I'm trying to like get it more this way. Oh yeah, that'll work. Okay, perfect. Then I can show nice. Okay, perfect actually. Okay, not bad at all. Okay, so just let me know if this like works for you guys. It works for me just because like I feel like I'm tired a lot in these videos, and I feel like more light is like making me more awake. So I feel like with the curtain open, with the sunshine coming in, it's a lot better, and I don't need to use my lights, which obviously is not as good as the light. So yeah, this is going to be 7 True High School Horror Stories Volume 2, but this is going to be Part 1 of Volume 2 because this video is 49 minutes long. I thought it was the last video, but it turns out this is this one. So I split it into 2 parts. So I didn't do it by story, so like for all I know, I basically just did, okay, like 50 divided by 2 is 25. So 49 divided by whatever is probably 24 and a half. So basically I'm going to do 24 and a half and 24 and a half. And if it cuts out of a story, like at the end of this video, then I'll just finish doing it after. I'm just going to do it in 2 parts just because I could do it in one, but I feel like it's a lot better if I just kind of like do one, walk around a little bit, just I'm moving a little bit because again, if I'm so still and I'm not really doing anything, then it just makes me more tired and more exhausted, which I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's going to be that. So yeah, this is about 24 and a half minutes long. So without further ado, let's get into this video. This was a suggestion, by the way, as well. And yeah, let's go. Introduction's loud enough. So yeah, high school can definitely be scary. Like the last videos were definitely like maybe like stalkers, which that's mainly what high school can be like. So all I gotta say to that is be careful. Nice blanket. This is so much more comfy too.
So my name is Alex, and I went to high school here in Liverpool in the UK. Our school was a bit different than some of the others in the area in that it offered us a chance to partake in the combined cadet force. The CCF started for us once we hit 14, and you got the choice of either the Army, Navy, Air Force, or community service.
Okay.
Being a red-blooded male with a liking for all things military, I chose the Army. And it was honestly one of the most fun times I've ever had in my entire time at school.
Good.
Every Thursday, we got to dress up in camouflage clothing to go to school in. This included boots, berets, all that stuff, and my god, it felt cool getting into that gear and marching off to school, with like every other kid in the area who went to other schools thinking we were incredibly cool as well. But it didn't come without its hazards. You see, like most high schools, there were a few bullies that made life for the rest of us pretty much unbearable, and I was no different. One kid was intent on making my life as terrible as possible, and I'd be lying if I said he didn't succeed on a few occasions. But, little side note here, I wasn't nearly as tall or as strong as this kid. However, once I got super sick of the maltreatment and decided to get a little payback. We were playing football one afternoon during PE, which was physical education, and me and my bully were on opposite teams. I ended up marking him, basically trying to make sure he didn't get the ball, or if he did, he wouldn't have it much longer. At one point he gets the ball, kind of chuckles when he sees me as if to be like, what are you gonna do, short stuff, then tries to jink past me. I just throw myself into, if I may say so myself, a near-perfect slide tackle, taking the ball out from under him and felling him like a freaking oak tree.
Good.
He smashes into the ground, wind knocked out of him, appealing for a foul, but our teacher just tells him to get up, as it was a fair tackle, albeit a little rough. I can't even tell you how amazing that felt, seeing that look on his face. But that feeling paled in comparison to the anxiety I felt when I realized he wasn't about to just let this slide, no pun intended. He was clearly out to get revenge, in a big, bad way, and that was something I was definitely not looking forward to. Anyway, we ended up going on this big field trip to an army base just north of Liverpool at this place called Altcar. All the army kids are there, since there had been a lot of hype about the trip. We were due to have an actual live firing session, fieldcraft exercises, stuff like that. But we were all really excited about the paintball session that they'd promised us at the end of the day. So all is going well until the fieldcraft lesson. We were given these little pallets of camouflage face paint, get split up into two big teams, and then get told we'll basically be playing a giant version of hide and seek among this big wooded area that was contained in the base perimeter. All good, right? Nope. Big nope. Because I'm on the hiding team first, and my bully is on the seeking team. So off we go, into the woods to hide. Me and a mate of mine managed to find these really thick bushes to hide in, pretty much impenetrable, and just chill there, keeping as quiet as possible, as we start to hear the seeking team, looking around the woods for us. It was such a rush, hearing people wondering where we were, being totally oblivious to the fact that we were just feet away from them. So you can imagine our absolute disappointment when someone comes stumbling through the bushes to check if there's anyone there. Now, I know what you're thinking. It just so happened to be the bully that found us. Yes, but actually no. It was one of his mates, and while my friend just legged it out of the bushes to find a new hiding place, the bully's mate sees me and pounces. These are all the rugby players, so he doesn't have much trouble gripping a short little goblin like me and holding me in place while he starts shouting for the bully that he's found me, over and over again. I struggle, I fight, but it's no good. The kid pretty much has me in a vice-like headlock, and I'm not going anywhere. But the bully appears. Just so we're all clear on what's happening here, we all pretty much are completely alone in these woods. No one can see us, and the bully guy, who's completely bent on revenge at this point, has me right where he wants me. I honestly thought I was about to die for a moment. He starts punching me in the stomach while his mate holds me still, and as much as I'm kicking and swearing and trying to break free, it's just no good. The punches start landing on my face soon after, and I begin to taste blood in my mouth, and he lands punch after punch around my head and face. Right when I think it can't get any worse, he picks a stick up off the ground, snaps it in two so that he's basically made a little spear, then starts saying how he's going to take one of my eyes out to teach me a lesson for trying to be the big man during football practice.
God, what the hell?
I start doubling my efforts, kicking and screaming, and the guy holding me has to put a stinking sweaty hand over my mouth to keep me from making too much noise. It was horrendous, literally the worst experience of my entire childhood, watching the sharp end of that stick creeping closer and closer towards my eye. I could still close them over, but that sort of makes it worse. Now I'm just stood there, struggling away, waiting for the moment that sharp stick starts to push against my eyelid. Then, out of nowhere, I hear a shout. Like an oi oi, followed by a load of rustling leaves. It was one of my fellows who had been assigned to teach us fieldcraft, like this actual regular army bloke who was obviously in no mood to deal with spoiled posh kids. He throws the bully to the ground, and I feel the arm around my throat loosen and disappear as his mate turns tail and flees the scene. The bully got absolutely beasted for the rest of the day, wasn't allowed to do anything else, including paintball, and had to go for these horrible punishment runs. It caused a ton of stuff at my school, with parents complaining about the loose discipline, even though it was supposed to be the military. But after that, he never picked on me again. Maybe getting picked on himself made him think twice about the whole bully thing, but either way, school got a lot easier to deal with after that whole incident.
I feel really bad for him. But I'm glad that he got away and obviously didn't have to deal with the girls. Oh my god.
I didn't have a proper girlfriend until I was in 11th grade. I had messed around with a few girls at middle school and high school dances and stuff, swapped numbers with a girl at a buddy's birthday party one time, but I'd never had anything serious. Nothing I was really emotionally invested in until then. Then, just after the start of the 11th grade, a girl transferred to our high school from out of state. She was the cutest girl I'd ever laid eyes on in my entire life. I mean, she honestly still might be. Her name was Nora. She was born in Malaysia, but moved here to Greater Boston when she was like 5 years old. She had these big, dark brown eyes. I mean, so dark they looked almost black, that darted around whatever room she was in, just shyly observing all that passed. Her hair was so thick too, like I don't know if this is all Asian girls, but there just seemed to be so much more of it growing on her head than other girls. I can still remember how it used to sit on her shoulders, almost impossible to tame, no matter how hard she tried to do so. It had this weird kind of bounce and curl to it, too. Like most Chinese, Japanese, or Korean girls tend to have this super straight hair. You guys know what I mean. But Nora's was like wavy almost. God, it was so gorgeous. Her nose was super wide and flat, and she always mentioned how she didn't like it, but I just thought it was cute. Then her lips, my God. They were so plump and pink, like this gorgeous contrast between her golden brown skin and these soft rose pink peaches. Other guys in our grade used to make fun of her acne, and she did have a lot of scars from it along her cheeks, but I didn't care. I thought they were beautiful.
I had too when I was younger.
She was imperfect, but still, I think I was smitten with her from the get-go. She was also a super nice girl, too. Humble, smart, funny, the works. So it didn't take her long at all to find a little friend group that she could integrate herself into. And to top it all off, she was on the track team, too. Usually a person is either super athletic or super bookish, but Nora managed to be both all at once. I'll just never ever forget the moment one of her track friends came over to me by the lockers and asked if I was seeing anyone. She was cute, sure, but not exactly my type. All I wanted was Nora, but I had absolutely no idea how to approach her.
Exactly.
Then, to my absolute shock, before I could even answer, the girl made it clear it wasn't her that was interested. It was the new girl, the Malaysian girl, the one on the track team with her. She asked if I knew who she was talking about, and I tried to keep my cool, but the look on my face just totally gave it away. The girl just giggled, nodded, and walked away smiling. She was happy, but me, I can't quite describe how I was feeling. Although that's not going to stop me from trying.
I feel like Nora's gonna
end
up being some crazy bitch. I don't know
super like someone and it's like butterflies. Well, take that feeling and times that by like 1,000. I was so excited I felt sick. Like physically sick, and I swear to God, as I tried to put the padlock back in my locker, it took me a good few tries before I managed it, because I was shaking, straight up shaking from the adrenaline. So I won't bore you with all the courtship details, but I ended up being with Nora for a while. It was a dream teenage romance, everything a guy like me could have ever wished for, and for like 18 months of our lives, I think we were both truly happy and truly in love.
Okay.
But as the SATs approached and we each started looking at colleges, I realized I might not get the grades to be able to get my preferred major at Boston U. I mean, Harvard was pretty much out of the question for me, but not to Nora. She was pretty much on track to ace her way into the place on a partial to full arts scholarship. Not only that, but I'd kind of had my heart set on going to college down in Florida. There were some dang good schools down there, and that's not even covering the weather. I played a lot of soccer, and Florida is an excellent place for that, since the weather is superb and there's a sizable Latin community. So, now that you know that, picture the scene. It's just another day of high school, and happy-go-lucky me walks into school one morning, only to be pulled aside by a teacher and told I was wanted in the principal's office. Whatever for, I couldn't possibly imagine, but I knew I hadn't done anything wrong, so I wasn't worried. Even though maybe looking back I really should have been, because the moment I walk in there, first thing I see is the uniformed police officer standing just next to the principal's desk. He had his shades on, indoors. Who does that? But even without seeing the guy's eyes, I knew he was staring daggers at me. The principal asked me to take a seat, in the most Chris Hansen type I know you're guilty way ever. So I do. I managed to keep my cool for about 30 seconds while they spew a bunch of vague nonsense about wishing they didn't have to talk to me like this, how it's such a shame, blah blah blah. I snap, telling them I'm pretty much a legal adult and they should just come out and tell me what the problem is. Then the cop says it, something that made my jaw drop. You think you're a man laying hands on a woman like that? So here's the thing. This all came to light in the week after. One of Nora's friends had a conversation with her about college.
Okay.
She told her friend that she had her heart set on Harvard, and she would definitely not be moving down to Florida with me. She then apparently burst into tears and said something along the lines of, Sam is going to be disappointed with me. I'm scared to tell him. The friend then somehow interprets this as a confession that I was hitting her in private, and within about 24 hours, the entire school seemed to think that I was some kind of woman beater. You should have seen the looks I got around school that day. There were guys with full-blown yellow fever that straight up wanted to kill me. I remember walking through the school parking lot towards my car at the end of the day, and as I walked past this one kid's car, he started revving the engine really loud, then let his car lurch forward before throwing on the brakes, as if to say, I could have, but I didn't.
I didn't even do anything.
We ended up breaking up before moving away, and it was the worst thing ever. My heart was completely broken, but that wasn't even really the worst part. Some people in our little North Shore town just didn't seem to believe that I was innocent, and honestly, I don't think I'd have survived the year if I didn't move down to Florida for college. I know that's not your typical ghost spooky skeleton horror story, but that stuff just isn't scary compared to an accusation like that, and all the fear and loathing that results from it.
Like, can you imagine just like everyone thinks like you're this type of person and then you're not, and then it's not so annoying just to like have someone think that you're
When I
not
look
someone.
back at my high school years, I always seem to remember one thing more than anything else. It's not the classes or the football or the fact that I had to transfer a lot because of my parents' jobs or the terrible cafeteria food. It's meeting a girl. Like I said, I was and am an army brat, and thanks to my dad having to move around the country a bunch, I had to chronically transfer between high schools, sometimes a year at a time. According to the therapist I visit these days, this was pretty bad for me, but I digress. Because it was during my senior year at high school out in Oregon, that's when I met Sophie. She was shy, reserved, to the point that some people just straight up called her old and Ice Queen. But she was so much more than that. She wrapped up her idealism in stone, and the way the world is these days, I don't blame her. We had a lot in common. I mean, an incredible amount in common, despite the fact that we lived on opposite sides of the country for almost most of our lives. But we were different too. Different in all the right ways, if you ask me, like complementary, if that makes sense. I was super passionate about things. She was not. She was dead inside, as she put it at one point. I was convinced that I would breathe life into her. But I didn't care what she said. She was honestly the most incredible young woman I'd ever met in my life. And part of me thinks she still is, even like 20 years later. But it wasn't smooth sailing, not at all. You see, because I transferred to her school for senior year, I didn't really have any idea of what had gone on at that school previously. Blissful ignorance, I'd call it. Ignorance that was quickly shattered. About a month into seeing her regularly, she started to withdraw, started to kind of push me away. I confronted her about it, and the truth came out. At the time we met, she was fresh out of a long-term relationship with a guy a few years older than us. I mean, like maybe only a fortnight fresh out of it, and obviously it was still super raw for her. She was hurting, and I totally understood why.
Yeah.
But God, she was amazing, and I made it perfectly clear that I wasn't about to give up on her like that. This other dude had basically promised her the good life. Marriage, kids, the works. Apparently he was a college grad with some lucrative new job in the burgeoning tech industry down in California. He made 6 figures, he was handsome, tall, pretty much everything I was not. But right when it came to her dropping out of school to start her life with him down in San Francisco, he told her he'd met someone else. Can you believe that? Talking her up like that, only to let her down. I don't think anyone can blame her for feeling or acting the way she did. She told me she needed space, which I was only too happy to give her. I was heartbroken, just like she was, and all of a sudden we had something else in common too. I pretty much begged her to give me another chance one night. I sneakily stole the key to my dad's liquor cabinet and drank a few glasses of vermouth. Yeah, I know, I knew nothing about alcohol. The smell that stuff gives off makes me ill even today. Enough to get me emotionally lubricated, then ended up pretty much begging her to give me a chance. She agreed too, but on one condition, that I gave her some space for like a week or two, and that we wouldn't be exclusive for a while. How long, she didn't know, but she was freshly out of some sort of nightmare breakup and was just not ready to jump right back into the pool.
That makes sense.
So while all this was going on, unbeknownst to me, there was a silent observer. So right in the middle of me feeling terrible over what was going on with Sophie, a 10th grade girl I'd seen around school approached me when I was walking to my car one afternoon. Her name was Josie, and she excused herself before telling me she was really sorry about what was going on with me and Sophie, how she totally sympathized with the situation, and that she hoped she could help take my mind off of it. It was so dumb of me, but I asked her out, like there and then. I think I just wanted to show Sophie that I was entirely capable of finding another girl, like I was demonstrating my value or something. It might sound egotistical or selfish or whatever, but I think some of you might agree that I was definitely not thinking straight at the time.
Clearly.
But do you ever think straight during high school? The entire thing is just a mess of hormones and emotions and pressure and stress.
Exactly.
It's amazing any of us make it out of there intact.
Right?
I ended up going on a couple of dates with Josie, and Sophie was well aware of what I was doing. I could tell she wasn't impressed. That she was even less impressed that it was a 10th grader, but what else was I supposed to do? Just lie in my bedroom feeling sorry for myself? I had to do something, and hearing Josie say those words, "I can help you take your mind off of it," oh my god, you have no idea how comforting that felt. How it was exactly what I needed to hear. So, we dated. I'm not sure if Sophie also dated either. I saw her walking around town with a guy at one point, but she'd been pretty open about her having a lot of guy friends, so I wouldn't have been surprised if it was just one of them. But with the time that I spent with Josie, it was nice. Really nice. She wasn't as mature as Sophie, she wasn't as self-assured, but I liked her a lot, and she really did help me take my mind off of my heartbreak. Yet, she just wasn't Sophie, and no matter how lovely she tried to be, no matter how much she said what I wanted to hear, she wasn't the girl that I had fallen in love with. It sounds too cruel to say, but Josie just couldn't hold a candle to Sophie. It was little things, like how she couldn't stand horror movies, something that is still a huge part of my life, how she was super into Disney and stuff when, oh my god, I can't think of anything worse than having to sit through another viewing of Cinderella. God, I hate that saccharine, whitewashed nonsense. Things kind of came to a head when Josie asked me to be her boyfriend. I had to be brave, bite the bullet, and tell her that I didn't want that I was still super hung up on Sophie, that I don't think I could commit myself to another girl. And the worst thing was that Josie appeared to understand. She was upset, sure, but she seemed willing to wait for me. It was only then that I realized what I was doing to her. Exactly what Sophie was doing to me. One heck of a love triangle, right? Or if you include Sophie's dumb, Beamer-driving rich guy ex, more like a love square, but anyway. One night, as I'm sitting up in my bedroom, chilling and playing PlayStation, my mom comes into my room with me, saying there's a girl on the phone. I assume it's Josie, since she was the one calling me most nights just to talk or whatever. So, me being an absolute idiot, answered the phone like, "Hey Jojo, what's up?" Silence. Who was Jojo? It was Sophie. And I know you might expect her to have sounded like annoyed or something. She wasn't. She almost sounded scared. I told her not to worry about that. A weak response, I know, but I just wanted to change the subject and find out why she was calling. But more importantly, why she sounded so afraid. I can't remember exactly how the conversation went, it's been years, but it went a little something like this. "Did you leave something on my windowsill?" No, why? Are you sure?" "Yes, I'm sure. I'd say so if I did." "You swear to God you didn't leave anything on my windowsill tonight? You haven't been around here at all?" "Yes, Sophie. Why would I lie about that? You told me to give you your space, and I have." "Tell me what's going on." "Well, someone did." Her voice was all shaky, like she was on the verge of tears. "What are you talking about? What did they leave?" "A heart. A freaking pig's heart, or a cow's heart, or something, I don't know.
What?
But it was all bloody and gross, and there were flies all over the thing, and oh my god, I was so effing scared right now." I asked her if she wanted me to come over, but she said no. She just needed me to swear that it wasn't me that did it. So I did. I swore over and over that I would never, ever do something like that. that it was the kind of thing an absolute psycho would do, and how that just wasn't me. I told her I loved her, how all I wanted was for her to be happy, and that
I know who it was.
with
It
me
was
cool,
Josie
if
or whatever.
not also cool.
It was Josie.
But I was not about to get all Hannibal Lecter on her, no matter how much it hurt that we couldn't be together. She calmed down a little after that, but only a little. I told her if anything like that happened again, that she should just call the cops, or that it might be an idea to do that already. Then, an idea struck me. There were a lot of guys in our school who were into Sophie, and for obvious reasons. She was smart, hot, adorable, cute, and super approachable, despite how introverted people thought she was. If it was one of those idiots, if one of them had dared scare the love of my life at that point, God, they would pay. But the next day I was hanging out with Josie after school, when I happened to bring it up in conversation. I told her the whole thing, every little detail, and naturally she was grossed out. Who would do something like that?
You.
Oh God, what a psycho. That poor girl.
You.
Stuff like that. I was really, really worried, but like she'd done before, Josie helped me feel better about the whole thing. How whatever criminally
So that's where the video ends right there, because that's been 24.5 minutes. So before I get into part 2, which I will do like basically right after this, I'm just really curious. Like, I feel like it was Josie, because like Josie, what's his name? The guy, I don't know, is it Sam or something? The guy likes Sophie. Sophie wants her space. Josie likes the guy, and Josie knows that the guy likes Sophie instead. So because the guy wants Sophie and not Josie, Josie probably is doing that to her, trying to tell her to like fuck. I don't know. Does that make any sense? I feel like, because when you said it was a heart, I figured like a heart, not like a heart. Like I thought you meant a heart. I was like, what the fuck? So I mean that's pretty fucked up. I mean I'd be like what the fuck, like especially if someone mailed it to me, I'd be like what the fuck. So like I'd definitely be really creeped out too, but I feel like it was just Josie kind of like getting revenge. But I hate how people do that. Like just because someone likes somebody, like just because like, let's say there's a guy that likes me or something, but I like a different guy or something. So like the guy that likes me goes after the guy that I like. It's like what the fuck? Like why do you, like I get it, but like how would you like make them suffer? Like you know what I mean? Like just because I like them, like you know what I mean? I hate how people do that. Like, because then you feel bad for that person, because then, and it's like they have no idea what's going on, they have no idea even like what to do or whatever, and it's like, what are you doing, you know what I mean? So, basically, I'm going to listen to the last 10 seconds again before I listen, or I'm going to keep this open, and then in a few minutes when I'm ready to do part 2, I'm going to re-listen to the last 10 seconds, just so I kind of know where we're at, and then I'll go back into that one. But I hope you guys like this part 1 video. I'll see you guys in the next video for part 2 of this long video. See you guys in the next one. Peace out.